Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Thank you all. Oh, I must say, the Friday recorded audience, my favorite. Great to have everyone here. It has been an eventful week. We have a special guest today, and we'll reflect on the week that was. Kim is here, as you know.
Kim, how are you?
Watches a lot of stuff for us that is breaking in the moment. Albert is here.
Albert, thank you.
He has put together a lot as well. We have a poll up. The Mad King has been at it again. And when it comes to renaming the monuments around Washington, the transportation centers around the country, I'd look for the name Trump to show up prominently. You will leave no doubt by the end of this administration, which may be longer than the typical 4-year period, that Trump was here. Michael Foote joins us at the bottom of this hour, and he's a brilliant immigration attorney and criminal defense attorney. He's also got a great sort of funny aspect to him, and so I'm really anxious to introduce you to him. He'll jump on with us, as I say, the bottom of the first hour. And in hour 2, you've got Mo Kelly stopping through, and yeah. Also, Michael Shure, I guess, has left us a couple of recorded morsels.
He's flying. He's
he's flying right now.
He's in the sky right now. So he left us some of his thoughts.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I like that kind of dedication. I wish I could get that from others. Drinking the Coachella Valley coffee, which I start every day with. Sunrise Blend is what I'm rocking right now, but I also love that Ocotillo espresso. Oh, and the El Gato, sets me on fire. I am telling you what.
Put that coffee down.
If you want a piece of it, go to CoachellaValleyCoffee.com and use our discount code MARK-T. You'll get 10% off this boutique roastery's hand-roasted coffee beans and their tasting profiles under everything you see there. So you can enjoy as I do.
More? Yep.
I like the coffee. Kim rocks the tea.
Vanilla today.
Vanilla. I want to also double back and recognize the dedication of Kim to get with Michael Shure last night for a couple of his recorded musings as to what's going on in America right now and the world, so we can integrate those into the conversation with Mo Kelly. Kim with a special bit of dedication to the show. Yeah, I was quite impressed.
Kim, how are you?
Wow.
And might I say, surprised.
Doesn't happen very often, so you really have to,
It
take
doesn't.
advantage of it.
It doesn't, but the reality is that
I blame you.
It's my fault, of course. I need to demand more. So I am excited for the live chat that's going on, and let's quickly check what has just begun as a live poll. If true, tying funding, that is to say, holding up funding in America on major infrastructure projects that have already been greenlit, if true, tying that funding to naming rights for Trump is abuse of power, smart political leverage, or normal politics? Those are the questions that are in the poll. We'll check it throughout. And, of course, abuse of power, not surprisingly, leads right now. As I say, we've just begun the poll, but we'll take a look on down the way. I did want to mention something that jumped out at us, quite literally related to jumping out at us. It's not related to Donald Trump, and it's not related to politics, so, just take a seat.
What?
I know. It's something that, but it is a Winter Olympics-related item. It's related to an investigation that's going on at the Winter Olympics. And I don't quite know how to broach this, but the anti-doping agency is now looking into ski jumpers, and they're looking at whether or not they've injected their Kim, do you want to say it? Because I don't like to say it.
That would be penis mark?
Yep. With a, can you say the hyaluronic acid? Can you say that? I don't like to say that either.
Yeah.
They use this injection to fly farther. Ski jumping is very popular in Poland. And I promise you, I'm going to look at it, says the president of the World Anti-Doping Agency. As crazy as it sounds, there are broader concerns surrounding this issue. It's been dubbed Penis Gate. It was reported by the German newspaper Bild. Last year, 2 of Norway's recent Olympic medalists were given 3-month suspensions after the team was found to have secretly adjusted the seams of their suits in the crotch area. Norway's head coach and assistant coach and staff member were also banned for 18 months for their involvement in this scheme. It made the jumpers' suits larger, therefore reducing their descent rate because of an increased wingspan to let them go farther, you see. One study in the scientific journal Frontiers found that every 2 centimeters in suit size circumference reduced drag by 4% and increased lift, which is what you want because you want to go farther, by 5%. It said that a 2 centimeter change in the suits was equivalent to an extra 5.8 meters in jump length. That could really be the difference between a gold medal and a silver medal.
Okay, so wait. If you want a bigger suit, you need a bigger body part. And if you have a bigger penis, you need a bigger suit. And that helps you go farther? Is that the whole...
That's kind of the way it goes.
Weird.
With your iron rod.
This, a lot of this research on increasing circumference and reducing drag is done in the laboratory of Emil Schulthausen. Yeah, the third.
That's dedication to your sport. I mean, really? Sticking needles in your member? I don't know.
These are rumors. There is no hard proof of any of these things. Thank you. But it is a serious thing in the world of ski jumping. So, watch this space for more. I was quite taken aback.
Oh, girl, baby girl, don't even play.
The purity of everything is just extraordinary. Well, there's a lot disturbing, a lot bizarre, and a lot that reflects what we already knew about the Mad King. This is Chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your Chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
Trump's account was up early. He was posting a video late Thursday night that depicted former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. The White House, and this I think is one of the more outstanding features of this story, initially defended the video, saying, you liberals, you're all bent out of shape out of something that was really designed to show Trump is king of the jungle, made fun of other Democrats who were there in the jungle, and so don't read too much into the Michelle and Barack as apes thing. That was what Caroline Leavitt said. I mean, obviously I've paraphrased it, but that's what her position was. So again, it was, these pictures were superimposed on the heads of cartoon apes while the song Lion Sleeps Tonight plays in the background. And then before that even shows up, there are all of these false election fraud claims, and it's all about the 2020 presidential election, and then it flashes to this clip of the Obama's faces superimposed on the heads of these apes. So, look, this is a clearly racist thing. I mean, from a guy who is clearly racist. The entire administration, to me, pursues racist policy. We see it on the streets of Minnesota. We see it. The anti-immigration policy is, half a click off from the kind of brutal racism we saw even during the Jim Crow time. You could even argue that the thuggery associated with the ICE agents and Custom and Border Patrol, the harassment, it's all the brutality. It's all of a kind, and that kind does relate to racism. But anyway, let's get back to the story. So initially the view was, hey, you guys just can't take a joke. You know, what is it with you guys? And then Trump removed the racist video. And during the time between posting it and removing it, he got pushback even from Republicans. And Tim Scott, I think, was one of the Republicans who pushed back. He's the Tim Scott from South Carolina, he is the only black Republican in the Senate. And he is someone who I think is, to call him sycophantic toward Trump is an insult to sycophants everywhere. He takes it to another level. He would drink Trump's bathwater, I think. Tim Scott would. You'll remember that he was kind of angling for the vice presidency nomination, wanted to be on the ticket with Trump. Do you recall that, Tim Scott? Anyway, even he came out against it. And so he said and posted to his social media, praying it was fake, because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. The president should remove it. That's Tim Scott who said that. As I say, Tim Scott, there's nothing Trump has done or said that Tim Scott won't defend.
Do you think that after this, where now Tim Scott says this is the most racist thing he's ever seen out of this White House, do you think that now he'll realize they're not for him, they don't like him?
Kim, it doesn't matter whether they're for him or like him. It's almost better if they're not for him or like him. They will heal. They will do his bidding because he will destroy them if they don't. He'd rather, from a power position, they not like him. He's.
Are you talking about Tim Scott? I'm talking
about Donald Trump.
Oh, I'm talking about Tim Scott. Is he finally going to be disillusioned enough by the racism to step away?
Tim Scott, I don't give a shit.
I mean, but how many people?
Tim Scott has sold his soul a million times over.
Yeah.
I don't mean to. I don't know. I guess would be the answer to your question. I don't know.
Yeah.
How many things does this guy have to do before you realize, the mask off, what he is and what he's doing? I mean, I just think Tim Scott. I don't know. I just don't care. Tim Scott is an absolute rounding error. But I mean, it's not a bad question, because you could say, well, he might be a bellwether for other people in the Senate type thing. I get where it comes from, but I think Tim Scott is so difficult to figure out. He's someone who is navigating things politically. He's doing things for his own political enrichment and personal enrichment. I think his soul is so corrupted with political avarice that it just doesn't matter to me. But also Mike Lawler, who's a Republican in New York, criticized Trump. The president's post is wrong, incredibly offensive, whether intentional or a mistake. It should be deleted immediately with an apology offered. Of course, Chuck Schumer jumped on it. Racist, vile, abhorrent. And Hakeem Jeffries, same thing. Vile, unhinged, and a malignant bottom feeder. Question why GOP leaders are continuing to stand by this sick individual. I mean, there is a sense that he's the mad king who's also so sick in his heart, without empathy for others. And anyway, so now, Caroline Leavitt, having once defended it, now is in the position of, oh, it was a mistake. And it's just, they kind of hung her out to dry too. But anyway. Yeah, how about state media, Fox and Friends? Will they say something? Yeah, that's that. But that's not all that's going on. Trump is demanding that he get his name on 2 national transportation hubs minimum, Penn Station and Dulles Airport. If the funding that has already been earmarked, this is infrastructure funding that's already been approved, if that funding is to continue, he wants his name on Penn Station and Dulles Airport.
I saw a memo from Albert earlier saying he would no longer be able to do the show unless you named the studio after him at the Mark Thompson estate.
Well, I'll tell you something. I roll over easily for Albert. So
yeah.
I'm glad as long as there's a sponsor attached to it. I'd like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that, Chuck Schumer has turned this down. Chuck Schumer was the guy involved in this back and forth, of course, over the billions of dollars that are, as I say, already approved for this funding major New York infrastructure project. It might be the biggest infrastructure project in the country. And in exchange for the money, Schumer had to agree to rename New York's Penn Station and Dulles Airport in Washington after Trump. Trump has continued to withhold this money, $16 billion earmarked for this gateway project connecting New York and New Jersey through a new rail tunnel under the Hudson River. The two states now are suing the Trump administration over this freeze, alleging in a complaint that the funding suspension is unlawful. It probably is unlawful. You understand they're looking at layoffs, too. There are about 1,000 people who are dedicated to building these things. They've been laid off, and there are more probably to follow. So, again, this is a window into a mad king's desire to put his name on everything, to claim everything, even as he shakes down the country for billions of dollars as a result of grievances he claims. I don't even know if he really has the grievances, perceived grievances. But as for rebuilding Washington, finally, this might relate to what Kim is saying. Some GOP legislators are saying Trump is too obsessed with reshaping the nation's capital in his grandiose image and with this gaudy aesthetic, and he should get back to governing. The regular people outside the Beltway are struggling with high prices, and the general notion is, Mr. President, you're worried about the Kennedy Center and slapping your name on things and building your ballroom or whatever else is going on there. And you're not attending to the stuff that the people care about, and we are facing slaughter in the midterm elections.
Yeah.
But it is the case that Donald Trump doesn't seem too concerned with that. Although there is, you probably have seen or at least heard, record money pouring into these midterm races. I mean, unprecedented money. And most of it's on the Republican side. There's big, big money going into these races. So, again, I don't know what the deal is on the midterms in terms of how there will be voter suppression, there'll be voter manipulation. There'll certainly be, old school carpet bombing of the air with all kinds of ads and digital advertising as well to lift Republican candidates to office, but we'll see if that's actually effective. Basically, GOP legislators are saying, hey, you're too worried about statues that have your name on them and not worried enough about the average guy. And speaking of statues, Don Colossus is the golden statue of President Trump.
No.
Yeah. It's a group of crypto investors who were backing a meme coin and are hoping that this statue will soon be installed at one of Mr. Trump's golf courses in Florida. It's been sitting around for more than a year. And these cryptocurrency investors paid $300,000 to have a sculpture created as a tribute to Donald Trump.
How tall is that thing?
It is 15 feet tall. So,
Jesus.
yes.
And
it's mounted
gold?
on a 7,000-pound pedestal. It's about the height of a 2-story building.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's cast in bronze and finished with a thick layer of what color? Gold. It is gold leaf. Yes, of course. So this thing is going to go up somewhere, they think maybe on the grounds of his golf complex in Doral, Florida. So that might chill him out for a few hours. And finally, in chunk of Trump.
I was going to say the crypto guys are smart because they know how to get Trump to do what they want. Build a
I mean-
statue, name a memorial, anything that appeals to his ego, you got it.
Yeah, same is true with same is true with the guys at Apple. You know, what did Tim Cook do? Bring him this gold offering, right? What did the Swiss do? Go back and look at that. Look at what the Swiss, they were facing these withering tariffs, and they came in and they lavished Trump with I think a gold watch and all this. I mean, you know, it's like the emolument clause. You can flip the bird to the emolument clause on the way through the front door of the White House. Trump is demanding $1 billion now in damages from Harvard. We're now seeking $1 billion in damages and want nothing further to do in the future with Harvard University, he said on his social platform. Harvard, of course, a main target of his administration because of their effort in general to, you know, leverage high learning with agenda, which is what Trump has. Trump didn't say what the damages really were related to. His administration was seeking $500 million for reforms from the school to end this campaign of pressure. And he's put a freeze on close to $2 billion in funding. And that's because of a civil rights investigation and regulatory changes like looking at admissions at Harvard, international students who are let into Harvard. This is all kind of the stuff. But now he's saying, hey, we're not looking for monetary restitution at all. He's back and forth. When I talk about him as the Mad King, I think the moniker applies. I think he is truly all over the road. And so one moment he wants $500 million from Harvard. The next moment he wants nothing from Harvard. Now he wants $2 billion from Harvard, in addition to the demands associated with admissions. This is what we're getting right now. Meantime, name that airport and that train station after me, or you don't get your money. That is Trump in a nutshell. We call it Chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another Chunk of Trump.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'll tell you one thing Trump's done effectively is somehow, and of course he's helped because Fox News Channel and all the right-wing media, which is so dominant in America, has helped him. He's really skirted this Epstein thing so far. I mean, guys all over the Epstein files like a bad smell. And people are talking about the Clintons and talking about, you know, Starmer and his appointment and appointee ending up. It's fascinating that Trump has been able to skate past the way he has on Epstein so far.
Alan Ragan says Trump is mentioned more in the Epstein files than Jesus is in the Bible.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah, Trump is in the Epstein files. You'll give me the number, Kim. I want to say 38,000 times, something like that. But
those are just the pages we know about, right?
Yeah, right. And this is not; they haven't been completely released. Exactly. Thanks. Your comments.
Your comments.
Quickly, if you have any comments on the first few things we've talked about or whatever, go ahead and put them up. I'm sorry. Luis, not bad enough that Donald Trump posts video portraying Obama as apes, but then talking head Barbie Caroline Levitt defends it. What's next? The president calling himself the Grand Wizard? It's obviously an homage to
Dungeons and Dragons, D&D.
Yes, thank you. Not to racism, right? It's Dungeons and Dragons, not racism. Exactly. I mean, she'll say whatever, right, to get him out of whatever. She'll say whatever to get him out of whatever, and then he apologizes for whatever. That's what happened this morning. Trump's name appears more than 6,000 times in the Epstein files released by the Department of Justice. Many of those mentions are in emails and documents related to Epstein and his associate. Interesting. I'd like a recount of that because Putin's name and Russia appears in close to 10,000 references in the Epstein files. So interesting to me that appears even more than does Trump. Milton Watkins, master bookbinder down in Australia.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to you, sir. 10 Aussie dollars. To discombobulate someone means to confuse, disconcert, or bewilder them, making them feel off balance, disoriented, or slightly anxious, often in a humorous way, as if they don't know up from down. I think that's a reference to the fact that maybe you can get this audio or video, Albert. But Trump was claiming in his conversation with Tom Yamas there on NBC that in the Venezuela attack, we used the discombobulator. He called it the discombobulator. We have a discombobulator that just kind of discombobulates. So the Aussie bookbinder was referring to that. And you'll find it. It was a weird kind of admission on the part of the chief executive that we have this technology and that we used it, you know. Hello, everyone, says Chaplain Fred. Now, Mark, why are we still putting up to Trump's idiotic demands? We are really paying dearly for our tax money, with our tax money, and no one is lifting a finger. What's next? Change the name of the U.S. to the United Trump States? I mean, thank you, first of all, for a $20 super chat.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Chaplain Fred. I kind of take your general point, which is there is a looking the other way on the mad idiocy of all of this, the megalomania of all of this. I mean, just this unbridled ego turned loose.
Yeah.
A guy who knows nothing, really knows nothing. I mean, who couldn't explain to you what any of these policies are. He speaks in generalities. He speaks as though the opposition is a bunch of idiots. He talks about how stupid people are, et cetera, when the reality is he's the shallow one, right? But through sheer will, charisma, I'll say it, and force of personality, he's been able to ascend to this level, and no one will stand in his way because they're scared. He's got a lot of people who support him. He's got a lot of people who are white nationalists. He's got a lot of people who are in his thrall, who are in the cult, and he's scared. I mean, rather, they're scared. Donald Trump was mentioned more than 38,000 times in the latest batch of Epstein files. There you go. According to a New York Times review of the Justice Department's public release of some 3 million pages. Yeah, that sounds closer to the...
This is the actual
number.
audio and the video you're talking about from the discombobulator.
Oh, this is it? You got it? Oh, Albert, you're wonderful. Go ahead. Play it. This is
You talked about the weapon, the discombobulator. What is that?
Discombobulator. Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it.
But what does it do?
Let me just tell you, you know what it does? None of their equipment works. That's what it does. Everything was...
How does it...
It was my name. I'm very proud of the name. Everything was discombobulated. It was, practically a shot wasn't... they were ready.
Right.
And when we came, they couldn't do anything.
You saw this on the video. You could tell.
Tom, it discombobulated everything.
Nothing worked, even including humans.
Well, let's put it this way.
Out.
We lost no equipment in a very strong... And they're good fighters, great fighters. In a very bad environment... It was a military base, the biggest in South America, because the house was in a base in in a very, very tough environment. We lost no men and we lost no equipment.
The discombobulator just knocked everything.
Well, it did something.
What? You talked about the...
Yeah. I of course, now, the Pentagon saying, we don't have a discombobulator. We have many things that can produce this effect, et cetera. But look, if we did have something called the discombobulator, like some kind of James Bond type gadget on a much bigger scale, it clearly it wouldn't be a secret that would be safe with this guy. He just can't wait to chirp about it. By the way, you can say that we didn't lose anybody. I mean, 80 guys were killed down there, Venezuelan guys, on their way to... you can say, well, that's the price of doing business. But I'm just saying it wasn't like it was, it wasn't a beam me up Scotty thing. I mean, they had to go in and actually take Maduro out. The video isn't surprising. Maggots are incorrigible, says Steve. What is he? Is he Steve Ward?
Or Steve Ward.
Steve Ward. Thank you. Very good. I'm sorry. Steve Ward, you're great.
Big shout
Thank
out.
you for the $10 super chat. And you're right. I mean, there's an incorrigible aspect to all of this because they're just looking the other way on the guy who's clearly kind of lost it. Love your show, Mark. Thank you, your team, and your guests for being here so I don't go crazy.
Woo-hoo.
Susan Roberts,
Big shout out.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so
for your
much.
Nice words. I know Donald J. Trump's sewage treatment complex has a nice ring to it. It says Blue Spark. Now we're talking. Now we're writing. Hello, holy discombobulator, bad man. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Chaplain Fred. Crazy, absolute insanity. Super Bowl, 60,000 take a knee and boo Trump, flash mob style, on live TV, no less. That's what
Did that
Ted
happen?
Nicholas family is looking to do. What?
I wondered if that happened or if he's mentioning something he wants to
I
happen
think
or
he
something
wants
that
to
did
hatch
happen.
that plan. Yeah, but I
Okay.
don't think. I mean, here's the bad news. A lot of people in that stadium are still big Trump supporters. This is kind of what I get into when I bring people on who have a different opinion, and we end up with a very stark sort of reality. And I'll tell you something else, and this is something I think you can go team by team and verify in the NFL. Remember, NFL owners are super rich. Oftentimes, the super rich feel protected or they have agenda-related business with the federal government, the Trump regime. And so as a result, they're Trump supporters. You might be very surprised to find the owners of even your favorite football teams connected to the Trump administration in one way or another. So I'm just saying it's sometimes a cold slap in the face.
Wasn't there that New York Giants guy who was mentioned in the Epstein files? So
Sure.
part of the connected, rich elite doing the creepy things.
There you go. I mean, that's a great point. The rich elite have access, they want access, and they're ready to look the other way on some pretty skeezy things and maybe even participate in those things. So smash the like button if you will.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Helps us with the YouTube overlords. And I did want to mention that coming up, did you send the link to Michael Foote?
I did, and I just sent a reminder as well.
Okay, cool. Hopefully Michael Foote will be by. He's an immigration and criminal defense attorney, and he's defended every kind of criminal case imaginable. So we'll talk to him. The immigration story just continues to overflow. I saw something today with a kindergarten teacher trying to get the parents of one of her students deported.
Oh my God.
The student is fine. In fact, this is a recorded conversation. The student is fine. Student's a good student. It's a kindergartner. What is that? 6?
5, yeah.
5 and 6. And the person even asks, are you, is there a problem with the child or something? And she said, no, the child is a good student, but I think the parents are here illegally. And I should send it to you, Albert. Maybe we'll run it. If we don't have Michael, I'll play it for you. It's amazing. Essentially, this guy set up an account that makes it look like it's an official way in which you can report potential deportees or people who are around illegally. And that's how he has this recording on the conversation. And he kind of presses her. He says, so you think they should be sent away? And she said, well, I'm just saying that I don't think that they're here legally, and they're using our resources, is what she says. So again, when we talk about the view toward this question, a lot of people buy into this fact that somehow immigrants are here and they're draining the resources of America. And as you know, these people who are here illegally aren't eligible for all the different resources that are available to those who are American citizens. And they're not eligible to vote, and they don't vote. And for all the reasons that we've talked about before, why would they want to vote? Why would they want to go anywhere near the polling places? I mean, leave aside, now you'll have polling places with all these feds everywhere, but you already have many election officials at many polling places. They don't want to have anything to do with voting. They don't want to have anything to do with the power structure in America. They're here and they're trying to stay under the radar. So please stop saying illegal, says Gregory. Yeah. What should we say, Kim?
Undocumented.
Undocumented, I guess. All right.
I just got a message from Attorney Foote who says, be right there.
All right. He's pretty famous for like doing stuff on the run. Like literally he'll be walking and he'll do a whole TikTok video. So there is that. While we're waiting, I have a, as I kind of alluded to it, so let me just get into it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The Epstein scandal is now getting into the British government. They don't mess around. Like, you know, we're kind of, we play footsie with this stuff. But Donald Trump seems to be able to look the other way, not so much across the pond. The latest revelations affecting what's happening in Britain. Prince Andrew, the brother of King Charles, is probably the best known Briton to entangle himself in this whole thing. But Peter Mandelson is another guy who's also someone who was pretty high profile and was known perhaps to have his fingerprints related to Epstein. But he now will likely go down, and with him, maybe the British governance. Police in London launching a criminal investigation into allegations that Mandelson, who recently was the British ambassador to the U.S., but whose history at the heart of politics in Britain is long and filled with scandal, shared sensitive information with Epstein while serving as the government minister for business in 2009. Mandelson is accused of leaking government emails and market-sensitive information in the aftermath of the financial crash, including alerting Epstein and the British government, alerting Epstein to the fact that the British government might soon prop up the euro. They also got payments, it would seem, for selling government secrets, it would also seem. He has now quit the Labour Party, but Keir Starmer, who's the prime minister, facing serious questions about why someone clearly as risky as Mandelson was ever allowed back into government to begin with. So this really may be something, and Starmer has apologized, but this may be something that brings down Starmer as well. And Starmer says that the politician had betrayed our country. And again, he hired him. He lied repeatedly to my team, he says. When asked about his relationship with Epstein before and during his tenure as ambassador, he says, I regret appointing him. If I knew then what I know now, he would never have been anywhere near government. He was almost forced out of government twice before because he secretly got money to buy a house in London from a colleague who was being investigated for business dealings. The guy's dirty. And yet he ends up in this British government. So Starmer brought him back as an advisor and now, no doubt, regrets that.
It's interesting how it seems like if you at least have the hint of being involved in the Epstein files in the UK, they open an investigation, a police investigation. But here in the US, I don't see any police investigations. Do you?
That's exactly right. And I guess that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning. It's weird even that Donald Trump says, hey, nothing to see here, and just claims that he's been cleared of any wrongdoing. You know, that's that's his move, right? Just claim everything's fine, say it enough, and they'll believe it, type of thing. But I'd say more than anything, Trump's done it effectively to this point, but Starmer may go down as a result of this. It's a pretty dangerous situation for him politically, I would say. Let's get into a little bit of Michael Foote here in a second. All right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy is an immigration and criminal defense attorney, best known for funny stuff on TikTok, but related oftentimes, I mean, most of the time, to things that are going on in politics, in New York City, in American life. He's defended nearly every type of criminal case imaginable, the theft of a spiral ham and the attempted murder of a corrupt pastor. His work in federal court for detained migrants has really, I think, vaulted him to the kind of profile that brought him to our attention. And he's pursuing extensive litigation in detention centers that house all of these people. In other words, he's trying to represent many of those who've been detained unlawfully, trying to get them their due process. How about a warm welcome for Michael Foote, everyone?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Mark.
So excited to see you. We're big fans of yours, Michael Foote. I love your stuff.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. I love your show, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm happy to chat today. I think it's an interesting day to talk to an immigration attorney, right?
Yeah. Tell me about today and this week when it comes to immigration policy.
Sure. And so far as policy, I mean, so many things are happening. I think immigration attorneys, just by virtue of the work that we do, we are always going to be at the nexus of exactly what's going on in American policy, especially right now where, we're living January 6th every day in America with ICE invading cities, detaining U.S. citizens, detaining people who have immigration status, not just undocumented migrants, not just they purport that it's only criminals that they're arresting, right? But we have so many people who are touching the immigration system right now. And it's a system that is not able to withstand high volume. This DHS ICE system has exponentially grown because of the big beautiful bill to an extraordinary level where the judiciary hasn't. So we have so many people in immigration detention and so little infrastructure to process those people and ensure that they receive due process.
And it was already pretty strained, wasn't it, Michael, even before this?
Unbelievably tenuous and strained before this. I've been an immigration attorney for almost a decade, and it has always been low resources, under-resourced. But lately, I mean, I have people who come to me, they've been sitting in detention since June, and they haven't had an opportunity to get bonded out. We have an administration that is committed to changing the laws and the policies to ensure that migrants remain in detention and that they don't receive effective counsel, that they don't get a day in court, that they don't get an opportunity to plead their case. And they're doing this and they're rewriting policy to ensure this because immigrants do have constitutionally protected rights. And so they're trying every little trick in the book to try and ensure that folks don't get those rights, that they are not afforded their day in court, which they are very much due under the Constitution.
Here is a question from the audience. TK saying, are people being deported before prosecutors even get the cases?
Absolutely. I mean, people are getting unceremoniously deported without their day in court. People are being forced to sign their own deportation orders. They're not being afforded an opportunity to speak with a translator, to understand what the document even says. I've had people who were tricked into signing deportation orders. I've had people who were, sign this form, it's part of our detention center intake. And then they sign it and they're deported. But I want to talk, Mark, a bit about especially this image you're showing right now of these migrants sitting in detention. We're looking at some young folks, some kids, some people, a lot of people who are underage are held in detention. And I want to focus on the word held, because being held in detention is very much what's happening to a lot of people. Not many people are actually getting deported. So many people are being held in detention. And we just received word this week that DHS and the government are buying up all of these properties to create these supermax processing centers, these supermax prisons, these places where they're going to house migrants. And what we've effectively allowed our government to do is create a private prison system that lines the pockets of all of the politicians who own Palantir stock, who own stock in Geo Group. When I email a detention center and say, hey, bond my friend Mark out of this detention facility, hey, I need you to give me this report, or I need this, and I'm emailing a detention officer, it is officer's name alias at geogroup.com. These are privately held prisons. And when you are deported out of America, the US is no longer making money off of you. So why? I think that's exactly why we're not hearing about people actually getting deported. I haven't heard about a deportation flight in quite some time.
So,
I think it's they're sort of bringing people in
in
and holding them in detention because that's how they're able to make money off of them.
Thank you. I was just getting that they're incentivized essentially to keep people in detention rather than deport.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's shareholder value is what's keeping all these people in detention. So go ahead.
The other thing, that strikes me about this, since we are talking about these detention centers, Michael, is that they've been so immovable on the issue of inspections. When it comes to legislators, I mean, elected legislators, senators, congresspeople going in just to look at these places, they have stonewalled them. And now, as you know, DHS has this policy, you got to go 7 days notice. I mean, that's ridiculous. They just pulled that policy out of thin air. Speak to that, would you?
Kristi Noem pulled that policy straight out of thin air. She had there's no basis for that. What are you hiding? Right? There's only one reason why you need 7 days to clean up the place before a congressperson goes in. In New York, we had a detention center where local elected officials were trying to go to a detention center and they were arrested. DHS arrested government officials in New York because they were trying to access the detention center. And as an attorney who goes to the detention centers and talks to my clients who are there, I'll tell you right now, they make it pretty difficult for me to talk to them.
What is the process for you, Michael? How do you have to do the dance to get in?
Great question. So I was a part of a lawsuit with the ACLU, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, where we actually sued detention centers across the country and we won. I was bored. It was COVID. I had nothing better to do. So what my job was, I would call detention centers and say, hey, I got to talk to my client, Mark. And then I would document how long it took for them to actually get me in contact with Mark. And then we sued and won in federal court. So that even after that win, it's actually gotten harder to contact my clients. So what I usually do is I have to contact them through their own arduous systems. It's taking 2 or 3 weeks just to get on the phone with my client. So it's really unbelievable. And we're seeing people, they miss appointments. I have clients where I do actually get that appointment 2 or 3 weeks out, and then I show up and they're not there, or they kick us out after 30 minutes. So it's really hard to effectively represent clients. I would say it's one of the hardest parts of my job is being able to get a client to sign a document that the court needs while being held in a detention center.
When we see people taken and they'll end up in these detention centers, what you're saying is it's almost automatically going to be a couple of weeks before they get to any sort of process by which they can get out, because we do see some of these high profile cases, the case of Liam and his father, et cetera. And maybe, look, that kid's wearing this adorable outfit, and I think that if he's not wearing, I said it on the show before, the poor guy, if he's not wearing that adorable outfit, he's probably still in detention. You know what I mean? It captured the public's outrage. But apart from those type cases, once you're picked up, you're saying you're now in a system that's at minimum going to keep you a couple of weeks.
I can't guarantee that that's true for every single person, but generally, yes, that's what's happening right now. Is once you're picked up and once you're detained, you're given, it's called an NTA, a notice to appear, and you're held in detention until that NTA date. And that date is your time in court with a judge. And then that's your first appearance. So you go before a judge, you say, hey, I'm Michael. I don't have a lawyer. I need to talk to one. I am a citizen. I'm not a citizen. I have status. I have a pathway to status. A family member is sponsoring me. I've never committed a crime, whatever you're going to say, whatever your situation is. And then from there, you're given a second date. And between those two appearances, that's your opportunity to find a lawyer, to talk to a lawyer. I'm going to court sometimes and I'm saying, hey, this is our second, third appearance. I still haven't been able to talk to my client. So Jeez. I have no update for you, Your Honor. I still don't know. I don't know him. So and the judges, I will say, and this is like a little bit of hope core silver lining, at least for me, which I look for it anywhere I possibly can get it, is the judges look right at DHS and they say, okay, what's the problem? How come Michael can't talk to his client? What's the tea, baby? Like, it is actually, it's nice because for 8 years before this administration, the judges didn't have any mercy for me at all.
It's funny. Well, I mean, that was a system so well established. Now I think it's a system that feels overwhelmed, and it feels maybe I'm talking about the justice system disconnected from the world of DHS, which, as you suggested, is incentivized economically in all of these different ways to detain people. I think to brutalize people. It's a weird. They're not incentivized economically necessarily to brutalize people, but I think that from an agenda standpoint, they want the brutality is part of what they do.
Yeah.
Which again, I think makes your job tougher because you're dealing with some people who've been, roughed up pretty badly. It's more than they've just been detained.
Oh yeah, and we're receiving reports out of Dilley Detention Center in Texas that people aren't getting medical care for days. We have mothers who are in labor or pregnant who are bleeding heavily who are not receiving medical care for days. We have children who are sick who never see a doctor. Unclean water, baby formula being mixed with tainted water, food with bugs in it. Like, this is something that we're going to look back on in American history and we're going to say, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe America, the wealthiest nation in the world, actually treated its own citizens sometimes in that way.
Yeah. And I think, these are concentration camps. We always read about it, but I think they're concentration camps. I don't see how...
When people first started dropping that word, I got a little nervous, or I was just sort of like, well, I hate when I am asked to compare one group of people struggle against another.
Sure.
But if you look at the definition of a concentration camp, and I did, it really is exactly what's happening. And so you're right, Mark. I think that first knee-jerk response of mine to reject classifying these detention centers as concentration camps, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want, that has such a strong Holocaust connotation. Sure. I'm worried about that. But we're quickly approaching a point where the people are going to start dying, and they are dying in detention centers. It's not a mass murder scale of a Holocaust, but I will say that we have people who are being held in detention wrongfully, who are then having serious medical and life-threatening conditions happen to them.
Yeah, I think that this is a really important distinction you're making. I think when we say concentration camp, we really mean death camps of the World War II Nazi regime. But what concentration camps are really is what these things are. They are groups of people who've been detained, for the reasons associated with their ethnicity or / legality or, documentation. And the squalor that they have to exist in is unspeakably awful. And I love that you mentioned people are dying, because they are. I mean, you can talk about
it. They really are. There have been children that have died in detention centers this year alone. We have people and they're losing people. People are dying under mysterious circumstances. There are reports of DHS ICE dropping off people at hospitals saying that they ran into a wall, and that the nurses are whistleblowing and coming out and speaking publicly saying that the injuries are not consistent, and that it's very clear that these people are being physically harmed. So these are the reports that I used to read about Central and South American nations, how they were treating these migrants. And I was arguing asylum cases saying, don't send this person back to Central or South America. These are all the awful things that's going to happen to them in a prison there. And now, a couple months later, I'm arguing in court that these things are happening here in the US. And I think I want to make this distinction because, listen, I'm in New York. I'm born and raised New Yorker. I think it's very easy for us in New York and LA to be in this bubble and think, oh, well, this is happening in deep Texas. This is happening in Alabama. This isn't in my backyard. Let me correct the record right now and say that there are plenty of detention centers in the Northeast, on the West Coast, in Colorado, in the Midwest. These detention centers are in a town near you. It is not the deep South, southern states problem. This is everywhere in America. We just had DHS in Maine arresting people. So I want to talk about this image. This is CCOT. I think this is an image of Kristi Noem.
Is it? Yeah.
CCOT is a prison in El Salvador that is infamous for the way it treats people, the inhumane treatment of its prisoners, the way that it's been recognized by every single humanitarian aid group as a complete crisis is what's happening in El Salvador right now. And I want to highlight that the US government colludes with the El Salvadoran government and earmarks people in the US and says, hey, this person has a criminal record. They're from El Salvador. We're deporting them right now. Make sure you detain them at CCOT. The US government shares a list, they data share with El Salvador, and they say, we are sending El Salvadorans to you who have criminal records, FYI, if you want to pick them up at the airport and take them to CCOT, a prison that is notorious for human rights violations. So the way we're sort of treating people on a global scale, the world is watching.
I'm out of time, but I wanted to Prague the Wonder Cat, or Sprague the Wonder Cat asks, could Mark ask him about the disappeared, the missing detainees that cannot be found?
Yeah, that's certainly something that's happening. We have a system right now that is overburdened with DHS arresting too many people, migrants, people who are just existing in America while Black or brown are being arrested. So it's absolutely something that's happening. It is real. I will tell you right now that they are not equipped to effectively track and humanely treat all of the people that they are arresting.
I feel like the kind of disappearing that I'm used to reading about that happened under Allende, for example, and happened under some of these despotic regimes was associated with political activism, and it was a deliberate act to disappear those people. Is the stuff that we're talking about here sort of the system overwhelmed and we lose track? It doesn't feel as though it's targeted the way, like, again, just to use the Chilean reference was,
I will say that we're so often talking about what the Trump administration has done, and we're so rarely talking about what we think they will do. I will say that recently this week, they were pleased to start wearing body cams. Renee Good's murderer was holding up a camera while shooting. DHS ICE is committed to filming protesters, to capturing their faces, and it has a $1 billion contract with Palantir. So the notion that we are not heading to a place where we are tracking people who are speaking out against the US government would be completely delusional to say that that's never going to happen.
Sure.
We are quickly approaching that. I will not say that it's here today, but it is absolutely something that I think in November, when we're talking about the polls, when we're talking about ICE presence at polling stations and who is being tracked as a quote domestic terrorist and how we're classifying that, I think we'll remember this conversation, Mark.
I'd sign on to that. I think the domestic terrorism thing, and I've talked about it on the show for some time, it's such a deliberate label. It is not just rhetoric. There is a legal designation associated with it.
That's right. There's a federal legal designation associated with domestic terrorism. And luckily, we still have the courts. Luckily, we still have the judiciary to say, you know what, that's not a charge. That's not a charge that'll stick. The judges are really adamant. But it still doesn't stop them from making those arrests, which is very scary.
Michael Foote, again, big fans here and looking forward to more from you. You can find Michael Foote all over TikTok. It's one of his more robust feeds.
Thank you.
Then I hope you'll come back and visit. Sadly, this is a situation that is so grim and getting grimmer, and you are a light in it all. So I really appreciate talking to you.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to keep up the good fight, and you do the same, Mark.
Okay. All the best, my friend. Michael Foote, everybody. Bye-bye.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Right on, everybody. Thanks for being here. A Friday show, kind of a cool Friday guest that we slipped in there. Michael Foote. Speaking of Michael, I've got Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, coming up with movies and streaming stuff. That'll be the end of this hour. Also, I have Michael Shure, who will join us by video because he, I think, is in transit right now. So I get to delight in a guy who comes through on Fridays. Get them all to myself. How about it for the brilliant Mo Kelly?
How you doing, Mark?
Hello, sir. Nice to see you. What a week, man.
You know,
well, you know, the news of the day, Mo. In fact, I think we've got a flash poll going on about this.
It's a Mark Thompson Show flash poll.
In the chat, you can vote on this Mad King's effort to put his name on everything. He's tying infrastructure money, the biggest infrastructure program earmarked, already, as you know, funded, meaning the money has already been approved. He's holding up the funding until they put his name on Penn Station and Dulles Airport, is what he's saying. If true, this is according to reporting, of course, tying the funding to naming rights is, quote, an abuse of power, and that gets 95% of the vote. Smart political leverage, 2% say that. Normal politics. So overwhelmingly, people feel like this is an abuse of power. I mean, he's doing a lot of things that seem to fall into the category of abuse of power. But just because I've started that, it's the newest news overnight. Then I'm going to get to the nationalization of elections and all the rest. But where do you put this lunacy? It would just be the lunatic craziness of the Mad King were it not tied to real infrastructure programs. 1,000 people are going to get laid off today because that money's not coming in.
it's insane. And the word you used was lunacy, and I think that aptly describes it. A man who wants to hold up funding, impact federal jobs, just so he can have not only an airport, but also a train station, a transit station named after him, which is usually done posthumously. And you've been to DC, from DC. I have great ties to DC. We all remember when it used to be National Airport. In fact, I still call it National Airport. Now it's Reagan Airport, but it was national when I was in college. Customarily, you will name these places or transit centers after a president, after the person has died, not while they're still living, not while they're in office. And to think that the guiding force behind this is the person who would be named after is ridiculous. It is lunacy. It is insanity. It is indicative of a person who's mentally compromised, and we can't put it in any type of terms in which we would sane wash it or legitimize it. It's insanity.
He wants to also, as you're aware, put his name on currency. He wants to put his face on money. And the craziness that meets the craziness is that there are those in Congress who are all too anxious to advance legislation to make that happen.
Hey, Mark, pop quiz. Do you know where else they have heads of state on money?
I'm guessing North Korea.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, living heads of state, I'm guessing, in despotic regimes. Yeah.
Correct, Mark. You passed class.
I want to hear, this is it too, just pivot. I want to hear, says Phineas, an African-American's take on Trump's inhumane and despicable actions and statements against the Obamas. This is something that we covered in the first hour. This, it was the caricature of a jungle scene and Michelle and Barack Obama as apes. It was preceded by a bunch of election fraud ridiculousness. I mean, that's all just sort of 2020 election crap. But this was, I thought, way beyond the pale. And the White House had initially defended it. And then finally they got so much blowback that they had to go, oh, it was a White House staffer that did that. That wasn't the president.
It's difficult for me in situations like this to divorce myself from the news with not putting my personal feelings into it. But let me, if I could, Mark, explain it in this way. I have three types of feelings about what the president did. I have to think about a person, just a person, any random person who would want to post that. What is going on in their psyche? What is going on in their heart? That's the first thing. And then I have to deal with the feelings of what would a person in that position, the president of the United States and the free world, what does that signify? How do I feel about that? How that person in that position thought that it was anyway appropriate or funny to send out not only to Americans, but to send out around the world. It's not just a message that we're receiving, the whole world is receiving. And then I have to think about the feelings regarding a country which would either find a way to excuse it or okay with it on some level. So I'm dealing with the failings of the individual. I'm dealing with the failings of the institution and the person which represents the institution. And I'm dealing with the issue of this country, which will find some way to justify it. That's the first part. There's a lot going on in my heart and my head. And there's something else. For the person who doesn't understand what is so offensive about it, and you don't know the history of the juxtaposition of African Americans and apes or monkeys, let me put it like this. This wasn't an insult which was person specific. This was racially specific, which means that that insult would be attributable to me, my mother, my friends, family, anyone who may look like me, because it dovetails on a very long history of positioning Black people and primates, monkeys, chimpanzees in this case. So for me, it'd be different if he's just insulted Michelle Obama and insulted Barack Obama. He's done that 1,000 times. But when you put it in the context of apes and monkeys, you're sending the message, again, personally, and as the president of the United States and leader of the free world, and also you believe the country will excuse you for it, that it's okay to denigrate these individuals along racial lines and acknowledging the history of the racism which undergirds and is at the foundation of apes and Black people. If that made any sense, Mark.
No, it made a lot of sense. In fact, that breakdown is something I can follow so clearly and logically. And I thought it interesting that Tim Scott, who is really, I said, he's the utter sycophant to Trump. I couldn't believe it. It was disgusting the way he was this Trump apologist and explainer in the lead up to the election. I think he was angling perhaps for a place on the ticket as vice president. That was never going to happen, but he was delusional that way. And I just lost. Did I lose some? Oh, you got me?
There we go.
That's okay. But the idea that Tim Scott could actually push back against Donald Trump was extraordinary to me. He said, hoping this is fake, is what he said. You know, he kind of pushed back to the point that he said, this is offensive, I'm hoping that it's fake. And, you know, kind of gave Trump an out. And ultimately, 12 hours later, the administration took that out and said, oh, yeah, it was a White House staffer. Sorry about that.
I've worked enough with people who've worked with elected officials, and it's real simple. In a situation like that, you would have the principal, in this case, the president of the United States, come out and say, hey, that is unconscionable. That is unacceptable. It is inexcusable. I do not in any way endorse it. And by the way, it was John Johnson, the staffer, who did it, and he has been summarily fired and escorted out of the building. So there's no ambiguity. We all know we're talking about the president of the United States. We're not talking about the president of Harper Valley PTA. In any other position, in any other walk of life, you would lose not only your job, but your social standing. And to think that this president can do it and get away with it and then dismiss it as this, oh, well, some low-level staffer who managed to post it and nobody could take it down for 12 hours. Not only are you racially insulting me, you're insulting all of our collective intelligence.
Yeah, so well put. I want to pivot to elections and some of the remarks that Trump has made this week on elections. If you would, please, Albert, I don't know what you have first up there. You can play me the Yama stuff. You can play me the Bongino when he called into Bongino's office, his new office as a podcaster, during which he floated the nationalizing elections or the gaggle. Anyway, here's Bongino. He called, this is when he first broke the idea, we ought to nationalize elections. This is a state-by-state stuff just isn't working. Go ahead.
15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
So that was the first notion. Then in the gaggle at the White House, he talked about the same thing. He kind of, to use the oft-used expression, doubled down on it. Go ahead, Albert.
Said that you should nationalize elections. And which 15 states are you talking about?
I want to see elections be honest. And if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. But when you see some of these states about how horribly they run their elections, what a disgrace it is, I think the federal government, when you see crooked elections, and we had plenty of them, and by the way, we had them last time, but go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out. Rigged, crooked elections. If we have areas, take a look at Detroit. Take a look at Pennsylvania. Take a look at Philadelphia. You go take a look at Atlanta. Look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections. And the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
But the Constitution says it should be states that administer elections.
The reality is, of course, it's mandated by the Constitution. It goes state by state, but the Constitution is kind of getting to be some kind of document that hangs on the wall that is a quaint callback to a simpler time. Speak to this if you would, Mo, because he's not only not backing down on this, but in pretty much every interview he's questioned about it, he really full-throatedly backs this plan.
Most people who say that they love the Constitution or they use it as a talking point on social media or in their arguments with other people have never actually read the Constitution. And the Constitution is clear and inarguable that the elections are the purview of the states. And I know it can be cumbersome. You're talking about 50 different states and some territories as far as administering their own elections, and they have varying rules and practices, but the Constitution is what the Constitution is. The president, on the other hand, is not really calling for the nationalization of elections. He is calling for the Republican Party specifically, which happens to be in power, to take over the elections in the various states, because actually the states are not agents of the federal government. It doesn't work that way. Federalism does not recognize the states as adjuncts of the federal government. They are separate from the federal government per the 10th Amendment and states' rights. That's where the Constitution comes out. But if you look at this through a political lens, this is all about controlling the outcome. It would be different if he did like Andrew Young, Mayor Andrew Young, since he mentioned Atlanta, of yesteryear, who said we should maybe have a national day to have our elections and then have the 50 states approve that and ratify that. And he called that Till Tuesday. I would get behind that. But to have a singular party enforce elections or pick and choose who they think is going to cheat. And mind you, he only named off Democratic cities with no evidence or no supporting information. He is already, and we've talked about this, Mark, he is priming the pump. He's setting the stage. He is preparing us for his his bid to question any election outcome that meets his disapproval, which is going to be, and he said Pennsylvania, state by name. That's a huge state. He said Detroit, which is Michigan. He's telling you right now that we're not going to get through the midterm elections, and that's saying nothing of ICE. We're not going to get through the midterm elections unless he believes that the Republicans are going to remain in power in the House and Senate.
So exactly right. He mentions Democratic states. I think Michael Shure left us a thought on this too. Go ahead, Albert. Let's hear what Michael had to say about it as well, please.
The whole idea of what Trump is doing here is that it's typical Trump in a way, right? It's going out and saying something without understanding the constitutionality of it, getting people to support it, getting people to talk about it like we're doing right now. But there are certain limits to what the president can do. In the executive branch, it couldn't be clearer. In the First Amendment, in the first article in the Elections Clause, they say, right, that this is delineated. This was in the Federalist Papers, right? They say that states have the power over elections, with Congress having certain power. So it's kind of like the states can determine when their election days are, what the hours are, where the polling places are, what the polling fees are, all of that. The federal government, the Congress, can do some nationalization, but it's in a way that is respectful of the state. So, for example, we have a federal election day. It's the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So that's an example of what the federal government's able to do. But the Constitution could not be clearer in the Elections Clause about how this works. So the president is running up against the Constitution in ways that he hasn't really. There's not gray area here. There is not interpretation here. There are places in the Constitution where the area is gray. I mean, look at the Second Amendment, right? The whole idea about to form a militia. These sorts of things can be argued, and the semantics can be argued. The Elections Clause is pretty clear. The president really doesn't have the ability to do it. But what this is, and what the White House is saying this is it's the SAVE Act, right? It's this idea that he can support the notion of the SAVE Act, which he has in place there because he thinks too many illegals are voting. The one thing to remember, and what it always comes back to, is the fact that there's very little election fraud on record in this country. There are tiny numbers, microscopic, minuscule numbers of illegals who have been found voting in elections in this country. You have to remember, too, if you are illegal in this country, all you want to do is stay under the radar. We're seeing it now. We're seeing it play out live in the streets. All you want to do is stay away from anything that is state or federal or official. Voting is one of those things where you have to go in and you have to say, my name is John Doe, and they bring you there. If you're John Doe who snuck into this country, you're not going to show up to vote. That's sort of what informs this. However, it's part of the scare tactic that the Republicans are using and the president is using, and they're falling in behind. So that's what we're looking at here with this whole idea of nationalizing elections. It is very different, not even in a nuanced way, from other times where the president has challenged the Constitution. It's crystal clear here. He knows he can't do anything, and it's really even vague whether or not he intended on doing that or understands it. He's talking about, he didn't even say he wants to do this in 15 states. He said 15 places. I mean, he wasn't even specific about that. I suspect he's thinking of all the states that he challenged. He's somebody who wants his way all the time. He wants to prove that the election of 2000 was a fraud, but he knows that that's not going to happen. And certainly nationalizing elections in this country just can't happen because of our Constitution.
Yeah, the undocumented thing, and Shure did the exact words I used in the first hour when talking about the absurdity of it. I mean, there's no undocumented person who wants anything to do with an official polling place. It's an utterly absurd, but yet apparently effective a smokescreen to try to do all of these other things when it comes to the elections, to somehow suggest that undocumented people are here to influence elections, et cetera. If they won't play legit, says True Tech, you are expected to rapidly reconfigure an approach, sometimes so diluted to the what I don't know what that word is. Volumetics, is that what? Maybe you know what that is. Somebody, I don't know. But the words I don't know sometimes. All right, so let me pivot though, because we are talking about ICE and ICE funding and undocumented people and the brutal takedown of so many. The idea that the Democrats would leverage money that is earmarked for the Department of Homeland Security to extract concessions from ICE, like they want immigration agents to now not wear those face masks, that they're not going to be able to enter private property without a warrant from a judge if the Democrats get their way. These are demands that came in this week tied to DHS funding. Now, one thing I would say, Mo, and then I'll shut up and let you speak, is those seemed like sort of basic demands, tepid demands, I could even call them, but apparently there's tremendous pushback on them, so maybe not so much from the Republicans I'm talking about, of course. And also, and this is perhaps the more fundamental point, DHS funding for ICE is already out of the barn, man. That horse is running because they don't need, if you will, any of the funding that's earmarked for DHS from this next tranche of money. That money is going to go to TSA. It's going to go to other aspects of the Department of Homeland Security. ICE, as I say, is off and literally shooting in American cities and in places in America. So it's against that backdrop that the Democrats are making this stand. Give me your sense of holding up this funding and this Democratic move to try to tie some concessions to it.
As far as the Republicans are concerned and the funding of ICE, they have, I don't know, I'm just arbitrary amount, maybe 10 times the amount of money they actually need. So this is a bad faith negotiation with Republicans regarding ICE, its funding, and its policies and practices. I don't know if there's another way that the Democrats can go about it. I think it's wise to try to tie some of ICE's funding to their policies and practices. You indicated like the body cams and also demasking them, but that is at least an example of good faith negotiation because they are actually holding the funding of ICE relative to the behavior of ICE, where the Republicans know good and damn well they have adequate funding. They just don't want to change the public presentation of ICE, and they would rather they remain to be this intimidating, nefarious looking force that people can't necessarily see coming, that they're not necessarily seen as a body which is actually under control. They want the perception of them being rogue. They want the perception of them being out of control and being able to pull people out of their cars, pull people out of their houses, use children as bait, have people scared in schools. And the irony is, you have Don Lemon being arrested for reporting at a church as opposed to ICE actually going into churches indiscriminately. So that's what I mean. It's a bad faith engagement by the Republicans because they're not willing to acknowledge the reality of what's going on every single day regarding ICE.
Yeah, I would like to have seen schools added to those places that ICE cannot enter. I mean, it's heartbreaking to me to see these kids detained, to see these kids so frightened that they don't even show up to these schools. These are lost lives, I think, when that sort of trauma is involved. I think Michael left us a little something on ICE funding as well. Go ahead, Albert, please. No, I thought he had it, but here it is.
Polling as an atrocity in this country, the better off they are. It's February now, right? The election is 9 months away. That is an eternity in politics. 9 days is an eternity. So the fact that ICE is unpopular now and the fact that we're talking about ICE every day now doesn't mean we're going to be talking about it every day in a month or 2 or 3 or 4. But in politics, electoral politics especially, you have to kind of strike when the iron's hot. And that's what Democrats are doing right now. And they're putting forward things that they have polled as being popular. So you had Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, but the leadership of the Democratic Party, putting forward what they say is a 10-point plan that they have to have on ICE. So when they're talking about this, they're saying these are demands. This is not just the architecture, or this is not just, these are not talking points. These are demands that the Democrats are making in order to have that, to avoid what's coming up next week, which is on February 13th, there's going to be a lapse in funding for the Department of Homeland Security. So what which is what, that what oversees ICE and all immigration. So this plan is pretty intricate, but it's also something that each part of it is popular with Americans right now. And by and large, independents and Democrats and a lot of Republicans who are now sort of tired of seeing what we're seeing play out in the streets, what we've seen play out in Minnesota. So, of course, no masks, right? They want to prohibit all immigration officers, all ICE people, and I'm not going to go through all 10, but the big ones, that no masks, they want to make that's not possible. They want to see targeted enforcement, right? That they don't just go into private property without a warrant, that they don't have these sort of crazy, just walking, rocking up to some people on the side of the road, going in there and taking them into custody. That cannot happen, right? They are requiring their officers. They want to require officers to carry ID, say who they are, display that, allow people to see what that is. They want to stop racial profiling, right? So the DHS officers, when they're conducting these stops, that they can't do it based on what someone looks like or sounds like, or accent, or anything like that. Hard necessarily to legislate or to say, well, I didn't know, or how can I've got to be able to go after people who look as if they may have come across. That's going to be something that is going to be a sticking point for a lot of the officers, but it also may neutralize them. And that's what they're thinking is important. So stopping racial profiling is on that list. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to do that. They want to, of course, have use of force standards upheld, because right now it seems like there's a lawlessness about this, according to the Democrats, and they want to make sure that is part of of what they do, is that there are standards as to how they do these detentions and these arrests and these, I would say, grabbing people off the streets. And then, of course, not to have paramilitary police. That was the last one on their list, so that they can regulate the uniforms, the equipment, so that these officers identify themselves and they all look like what they are. There's nothing that sort of looks like extrajudicial. And I think that's a problem that people have. It does seem like a band of guerrillas a lot of the time, coming out there and taking these people into custody. And then they want to, protect sensitive locations among these 10, which means hospitals and schools and churches and, polling places, right? And they want, Republicans want ICE to go into polling places again, as if that has anything to do with how elections are held. So the Democrats are trying to take advantage of the moment. And that is smart politics from a party that is often accused of not playing smart politics.
Well, Democrats are saying that they're willing to negotiate, but others are saying, and I say, Democrats are, some are, but others are saying that oppose any funding that doesn't include some of that Shure was talking about and that Mo and I were speaking of. Richard Blumenthal says, for me, these demands are red lines, non-negotiable. And the reason is quite simply that the risk here is so great that we will lose critical freedoms and protections from government overreach. I'm kind of with him. But as you were saying, Mo, and as we were both kind of, alluding to, there is plenty of money for ICE and their madness and their horror to be wrought on the streets of America without this additional DHS funding. This other DHS funding would really be earmarked for other things. That doesn't mean that the Democrats shouldn't lean in, but I'm sure that there are many that go, hey, you should have leaned in sooner. This is a tough spot as the minority party, but it seems like it's the kind of flex they're trying to impose on this very tough situation. Mo, I can't hear Mo.
No, that's my fault. I put myself on mute.
Yeah.
The difficulty here is the Democratic Party is trying to balance the individual needs of caucus members who are running for re-election, all the House members obviously are running for re-election, with the party goals. And you do have these Democratic leaders in purple districts or even red leading districts, depending on where they are, who are trying to balance the idea of being for legal immigration, in support of ICE, the idea of legal immigration, but also the party's goals of thwarting ICE in their particular practices and policies. And what you're going to find is there are going to be some elected officials in solidly blue districts who have no problem saying this has to be a red line, no funding for ICE. And there are going to be others going to say, hey, wait, not so fast. Here I am in, Orange County, and I'm right next to that red curtain, and I have to be careful about what I say and who I support. And I'm going to have to hedge my bet and maybe fall down somewhere in the middle. I understand the politics of it, and I don't know if everyone like Richard Blumenthal can draw that line in the sand and say, no more for ICE.
This is kind of what I was saying, but this is what I get from CC Ryder. Boy, the trolls are now paying Mark to push conservative propaganda, because I'm sure that's a reference to me saying the Democrats are in a tough spot. I mean, I think this sadly is our system, and that's why I love that you just really drew it out clearly and starkly. I mean, it is politics. There is a legislative process here. There is funding that must be voted on. There are blue and red districts. There are purple districts. This is the stuff. So when I say Democrats are in a tough spot, sorry guys, if you don't want to, take your medicine, but that's the reality, and it sucks, but that is the reality. Now, the Super Bowl. I don't know what this is. Michael left us something on the Super Bowl. Whatever it is, Mo, we can react to it on the other side. Here's Michael on the Super Bowl and the politics of it.
So, Mark and Mo, it being Super Bowl Sunday, as you say, is, it's hard for a 49ers fan who gets used to success all the time to not watch them, but a political fan can watch the ads this year. So there's a little bit of a tie-in, right? So James Tallarico, who is running for the Senate as a Democrat in Texas and is sort of neck and neck in latest polling with Jasmine Crockett, the representative, he's a state senator, is scoring huge. Like, this is a massive flex in a Senate primary with a Super Bowl ad in Texas. So look at that as something that's important and unusual because of the amount of money it costs. Go from Texas to Maine, guys, and you will see that Susan Collins, we've said this before about Susan Collins, she's in the fight of her life. This is really a tough race for Susan Collins. And because of the fact that Maine is not as red a state at all. I mean, it's not a red state, but a lot of her Republican colleagues, with the exception of North Carolina, where Tom Tillis is retiring, have races that are seen as a little bit easier with a lot less spending and a lot, less spending going against them. So Susan Collins, even Tim Scott, who runs the National Republican Senate Committee, the Senate Election Committee in the Senate. It's not what it's called. It is called the NRSC, the National Republican Senate Campaign. Is he came out of a meeting on Tuesday saying that they're concerned about Maine. So what is Susan Collins doing? They're launching an ad. She's getting blitzed in Maine, and they're launching an ad, and it's airing on Sunday in Maine, a Super Bowl ad. And that is a hugely expensive ad, but it's something that Susan Collins will need. And then, of course, there's New York, right? I mean, New York doesn't have the same kind of races, but they do have the New York Jets, the picture of futility. So what do Republicans do? They do this. They have a billboard in Times Square of the absolute worst thing you can do to somebody to make them seem like a loser. And they put Gavin Newsom in a Jets uniform. There is no lower blow on Super Bowl Sunday than having to wear a Jets uniform. So there you have it. That's where politics will play on Sunday. And as a 49ers fan, hard to root for either of these teams. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. But Mark, you and I, I'm sure, will speak a lot about the Super Bowl, or at least text about it. Well,
because there are a number of wagers to be made, and can always be fun. A lot of America goes in for the wagering. It's interesting, though, he's talking about political ads and the fact that, there is so much money now in all these races. I was talking before about the insane amount of money that's going into these races. It's largely GOP money, as you know, Mo. They're way better funded than are the Democrats. But speak to some of these political ads and just the general huge media buys as they might affect the election.
Context, it's $8 million for 30 seconds each ad. So when you watch the Super Bowl, count along. Okay, is that a 30-second ad? Is that a 60-second ad? Does it air more than once? Because there are no freebies for the Super Bowl. You know, if they air it, you're paying for it, even if the game goes into overtime. So keep that in mind. And as far as the Texas Senate race, I don't know why you would want to buy a national Super Bowl ad at $8 million for 30 seconds for what a primary race, which I call a pre-race.
Sure.
You know, you're just trying to make it into the general election. But it is a flex if you have that type of money available to spend on this one ad showing one time. Yeah, I know you can watch it on YouTube, but still, you know, for that type of audience, which is not focused in on Texas politics, I expect there to see a bunch of "He Gets Us" ads, which are, you know, it's about Jesus, but it's funded by a Republican political organization. I can't remember the name of it, but Mark, you know which one I'm talking about. You've seen the ads like "He Gets Us." Those are political ads. And you're going to see even more political ads this time around than before, because to your point, Mark, Republicans are on the defense at this point, trying to make sure that they improve their position going into the midterms. This is a way that they can reach the most amount of people tuning in at the same time. Why? The New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl. They're back in the Super Bowl. Their owner, Robert Kraft, is a huge Trump supporter, donated to the Presidential Inauguration Committee. So know that Robert Kraft, in his own way, is going to make sure that the Super Bowl does facilitate, let's say, a warmer environment for those who may spend money for the ads.
I'm smiling because I made that point without naming him specifically, but indeed, yes. I was saying across the board, you look at NFL owners, it's pretty much the super rich. So generally speaking, the super rich fall into the Trump camp. They're Kraft and Trump together with Bill Belichick at the White House. So it's a by the way, it's imaging is what I'm getting from you. Like even the Jesus ads are imaging. It's all, so really effective. Mo Kelly, great stuff. Thanks for letting us click through a few things here. You'll click through more. I think you're hosting For Me on Monday. Is that correct? Yeah. All right. I'm looking forward to watching that. Mo, really appreciate you. Thank you again. Have a great weekend and talk to you next week. All right. Mo Kelly, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. I'm excited. For the Culture Blasters coming up. And I'm also wanting to get to a comment or two. I do see
And now, your comments.
I see Charles Slemons, come on, with a super sticker for $10. That's what I'm talking about.
Big shout out.
It's Charlene, by the way. I think I said Charles. Charlene. It's very hard. The screen is small, and I can't. Charlene Slemons. Sorry about that, Charlene.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
I did apologize. I'm sorry. I corrected myself.
I stand corrected.
Yes, exactly. It's a Charlene.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Charlene. Thanks, MTS team, for another great week, says Kim. Is it
Gene D.
Gene D. Come on. $10 super.
Big shout out.
Chat, including the conservative guest. Thank you, Gene D, for recognizing that. It's important. Took a lot of heat for those who missed it, having booked a conservative guest on Economics Guy. It's important to not stay in your own echo chamber. Politics is on a spectrum, not black or white. Stay open-minded. Gene. Oh, and she signed it, Gene. I love it. Again, thank you, Gene. Thank you for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Luis, 48 seconds of sports for Michael. Thank you, Michael, and your Rangers for sending the, quote, bread man to my Kings and paying half his salary.
There's a Russian hockey player named Artemy Panarin, and Panera
makes him the bread man. That's great. Albert with the explanation. I gotta love it.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And Renee, or Ren, says this is the America that the poor and immigrants have been living with long before Trump has made it obvious. On some levels, I think that might be true.
Big shout out.
Yeah, I guess when I say on some levels, I think you're seeing a more naked reality regarding that than we might have seen in the past. Sandra Thomas with a $20 super
Big shout
sticker.
out.
Come on, supporting this show with a super sticker. Thank you, Sandra Thomas. Appreciate you. Eckelberg says it's all orchestrated and on purpose. That posting was no mistake when it comes to the racist posting that the president had on his social media. Trump was playing to his racist base, says Underdog. Unlike elections, football games are rigged.
What?
The Last Angry Manny.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. $2, yeah. There's a lot of talk about sports being rigged. This is interesting from Phineas J. Whoopi. He says thousands of ICE agents just learned that the $50,000 bonus they were promised was a lie. Some even say they haven't received their base pay in weeks or their health insurance. I told you about this some weeks ago, but you may have forgotten it because I know a lot of stuff's been going on. I'll reiterate for you something that is a secret fact about the bonus that ICE agents get. So if you're thinking of joining ICE, maybe you should listen to what I'm about to tell you. The bonus is there provided that you stay for 5 years. There comes an obligation contractually along with the bonus. The $50,000 bonus is paid in $10,000 increments, and you'll get to keep all of it if you stay with ICE for 5 years. Now, if you decide not to stay with ICE for 5 years for any reason, it could be health, it could be it's just too dirty a business for you, or it could be you just got bored, whatever it might be, you must repay all the money given to you by the U.S. government. And let me tell you, the U.S. government will come get its money. So before you anxiously sign up for ICE in the enthusiastic way that oftentimes accompanies a $50,000 bonus, you should know you commit 5 years and you don't get it all at one time. And if you don't stay for the whole 5 years, you got to give the money back. So I still think there should be a National Albert Day, says Sheila.
Albert, thank you.
Wow.
We better get to Florida or we're not going to have time.
I will get to Florida, but first I want to talk about Sweet 106 Bakery. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Sweet106bakery.com, our newest sponsor. They come with the most delicious offerings. And I wanted to mention them because I think if you don't order soon, you're not going to be able to get your Valentine's Day order in. If you order with our discount code MARKT, you get 15% off. Suite, for those just listening, is S-U-I-T-E, like a suite of rooms. Suite 106 is where they started the business. That's why they call it Suite 106. Sweet106bakery.com. Again, small business. They bake to order. So when you get your order in, they'll bake it and they'll send it out. It is incredibly good. Albert, you and your girlfriend, the reviews off the scale. We talked to you off the air. That's why I'm talking to you now on the air.
Yeah, off the air, I was sharing how we had a little conflict. Like we had to, when it comes to sharing, it's a contentious thing. So the Snickers is what we were fighting over. It was really good, and I know Kim could attest to that too. But Kim, you wouldn't even touch my stickers.
No.
Bakery,
I'm not. I might actually fight you over that. Absolutely.
Well, it's nice that you guys are ready to throw down over it. You can't hear Michael Snyder. Is that your problem?
No, I can hear. This is just tantalizing, and I have yet to enjoy the.
I'll get you some
deliciousness.
I don't know where you live week to week. You move around. You're an artist. You're a bohemian. I don't know where to find you. But
we do have a freezer where I live, though, in our atelier.
I will get you. I will promise. I will get you this. Anyway, you listening and watching. Sweet106bakery.com. Use our discount code MARKT, the two-time winner of Cupcake Wars. She is a great female entrepreneur. Support her. She is a partner of this show. We're excited she's on board. Sweet106bakery.com. Use the discount code MARKT for 15% off. It arrives fresh and ready to eat and delicious. And you can put it in the fridge, put it in the freezer, whatever. All of these options are available to you. And I would tell you that if you just sit down and take a bite or two, man, you won't stop. It is pretty terrific. Sweet106bakery.com, discount code MarkT for 15% off.
The Mark Thompson Show.
What's your problem, Snyder?
I have none.
Okay, don't start with me, man.
TGIF.
Okay, all right, don't start with me. I've got some Florida to do, okay?
Sure.
Yeah, then we'll get to you.
Okay.
All right. Fridays, we like to look at a state that oftentimes serves up the offbeat, the weird. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
A Florida meat thief, as he's being called, tosses $4,000 of stolen steaks after catching his girlfriend cooking with another man.
Oh, they were cooking up something special.
Cuban national is accused of stealing $4,000 worth of steaks, roasts, and lamb from a Florida grocery store. Actually, he was hitting several grocery stores, as investigators found out. He threw out the stolen meat when he caught his girlfriend cooking with another man.
Oh.
Genius Alvarez Reyna, who is a Cuban national, was arrested and taken to the Sheriff Perry Hall inmate detention facility, where he's being held on $5,000 bond in addition to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detainers. This guy's in trouble. His relationship may have been past its prime, said the sheriff, but stealing isn't the way you cure what ails you. It sounds like he's like a Grady. He's a Grady-type sheriff, right?
What he's got going here is a situation.
The bottom line is this, the sheriff said. If you steal from our stores, we will catch you, and you will meet, get it?
Yep.
The consequence, because it's meat. Yeah. It was all stolen loot, and he threw it out after he drove to his girlfriend's house where he saw her cooking with another man. Pretty ugly. Florida man's morning commute is halted by a bear wandering through his yard. The black bear was caught on camera strolling through the front yard of this Florida man's home. Michael Tolos stepped outside his front door in Gulf Breeze. He turned the corner toward his vans and quickly ran back inside. Moved about as fast as I could, seeing that I was in shock, he said.
I mean, if it's not alligators, it's bears.
We're showing it to you. You can see it on the Ring camera. He goes over to the van. He's like just going out there. And, oh, no. Now I'm headed back.
Where's the bear?
I like that little instance of nope.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
there's the bear. There is the bear. That is some sick.
What?
I know. Sick stuff right there. Wow.
All that was missing was like cartoon noises, like running really fast.
Yeah, like Benny Hill music, right?
Zoinks.
Bear sightings across Florida continue to draw attention following several high-profile incidents in recent months. Apparently, Florida Fish and Wildlife saying that the first deadly bear attack happened in May of last year. Officials say an 89-year-old man and his dog were killed by a bear in rural Collier County. But later that year, Florida held its first regulated black bear hunt. 52 bears were killed. So this is a serious problem, they're saying, and it may be that you wake up and you go out to your van and there's a bear waiting for you. A Florida woman tries to...
What else is waiting for you out there,
Yeah.
Frozen iguanas,
Exactly. There's a guy...
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it
Exactly.
for.
Giant anacondas.
A Florida woman tries to steal a towed rental car and pepper sprays an employee. Orlando cops saying that there's a woman who tried to steal her car back from a tow lot, and she ended up with pepper spraying being part of the entire thing. She went to the tow business, allegedly broke into it to retrieve more than $49,000 in cash left inside her towed vehicle. I can see where you'd want the money back.
Okay,
Keep the car, give me the cash.
When you said toad, I thought like frog toad, not like toad.
Oh, no, yeah. There was a
you.
towing of this
Yes.
car. Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Officers arrived at the scene to find an employee with eye irritation after being pepper sprayed. During the investigation, cops say they recovered a loaded handgun, oxycodone pills, and a partridge in a pear tree. Yes, no, and a pepper spray canister. According to a report, she entered the lot to remove the towed rental vehicle. To clear a path for the car, she moved a tow truck and struck a gate multiple times with the vehicle.
Oh.
Wow, she had a plan. She wanted to get her money. Instead, she was arrested. You can see cops here in the video going through those things she had in the car. She had the full complement of Florida-related items, which is kind of what I like about the story, right? She got the pills, got the cash, pepper spray. Yeah. Get your car towed, TOAD, says Mobius. Yeah. Well, it's hard to choose a favorite, but we must. And so I review for you quickly the stories that we just told you. A Florida man with stolen meat, steaks, lamb chops, etc., totaling $4,000, tossed them all after catching his girlfriend cooking with another man. I don't need to tell all of you how painful that had to be. And a Florida man's morning commute halted by a bear wandering through his yard. And lastly, the Florida woman who tries to steal her towed rental car, the rental car that had been towed, and ends up pepper spraying an employee who calls the cops and ruins her caper. In all of it, pills found, money found, and pepper spray taken. We need a favorite? We ask you, Kim.
I'm with Chaplain Fred, voting for the bare necessities.
Yeah, the bear is pretty strong. How about you, Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster?
Well, I felt like Stefan from SNL's Weekend Update. That first story had everything. Meat, adultery,
Sure.
adultery between meat.
You're not wrong.
That's what I'm on that.
Cameo agrees with you. Meat man is what Cameo says. Albert, what do the kids say in the chat for the most part?
I seen a couple good ones. Meet and greet from Gone Fishing. Some people asked about the alligators. It's the wintertime, as you see. I'm pretty sure you've seen that iguanas falling out of the. Yeah. And a lot of fish, a lot of coastal fish are belly up because the water is too cold, also, which is really sad. But I do like the meat story because it's poetic. He stole meat and she stole more meat. So
you can't beat that meat. I'm telling you, that just was.
It was almost Shakespearean in the. I got it. I got it. How dare you? First of all, and secondly, it was almost Shakespearean. I felt the
she didn't want his meat. Basically, yes.
Yeah. There's no team in meat, says the last angry Manny. All right.
Big shout out.
That's Friday Fabulous, Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
We have hit the 2-hour mark. I'm excited. Fridays, we tend to run a little long, and that's what's going to happen today. I do want to mention, Michael, one of our newest partners to the show, Zellman's. Zellman's is so wonderful. Zellmans.com. They are minty, but the magic of Zellman's isn't the mintiness, although it's really good. They have spearmint and peppermint. Zellman's minty mouth is, I think, secretly concealing the magic which is inside, and that is the seed oil, which is it's parsley oil and it is a sunflower seed oil, and somehow that mix attacks those things in your stomach and it prevents bad breath or fights bad breath. So I take like 3 of them at a time, swish them around in your mouth. You get the powerful mint in your mouth, but then if you swallow them, Did I give them to you last time, Michael?
Tried them,
Yeah.
road tested them on a date last Saturday
I
night.
love it.
And worked like a charm.
I'm
think.
loving this.
Got no complaints.
This is
Oh, girl,
important.
baby, girl. Don't even play.
Dual action capsules. There is a science behind all of this. In fact, you'll meet somebody from Zellman's next. I want you to know this is, again, another business that so proud to have them in our partnership. You pop 2 in your mouth or 3 in your mouth, as I say, I do 3, and you really get both actions in the mouth and then in the stomach. And that keeps your breath fresh. It works on morning breath. That's how we use it in our house every night. Go to Zellmans.com with the code MARKT at checkout. You'll get 15% off. Zellmans.com. The discount code is MARKT for 15% off your first order. Zellmans.com, MARKT at checkout.
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, without any further delay, although it's so much fun to delay, thank you everybody for being here. Friday brings this guy in to talk about movies, about streaming, about the world of pop culture. He is this wondrous cat. I don't know how he gets it all in. He comes and goes on a rainbow. The brilliant culture blaster, Michael Snyder. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Mark. I want to wish everybody a happy February and a warm February here in California. Elsewhere, people are freezing their tuchus off. But I'm telling you, honestly, Mark, I'm always excited at the beginning of February. You're a meteorologist among your many talents.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I wanted to let you know that I went outside on Groundhog Day this past Monday and I saw my shadow. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, that means 6 more weeks of seasonal affective disorder and 3 more years of autocracy. Is that true? Is that what it's about?
Nothing.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
yes.
good.
Speaking of the racist in chief, late breaking news. Trump is now ordering Webster's dictionary to permanently change the word blackmail to white male, so it sounds like a less pejorative thing to do.
Oh, wow.
I'm wildly enthusiastic.
Okay, wow.
I bet you are.
That's pretty crazy. I don't know.
That was very inappropriate.
Anyway, let's
don't talk to
Don't talk to me that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's before we get to the regular film reviews, I do want to say that in San Francisco, a really wonderful thing is happening. It started yesterday, and it will continue for 4, 5, 6 days. It's called the Mostly British Film Festival.
Oh, you've mentioned this before, yes.
And it's devoted to a wealth of new and vintage cinematic efforts from the UK, the Commonwealth, and associated locales. And it's back at San Francisco's Vogue Theater for its 18th season. And if you want to get more details, I preview highlights of this year's Mostly British Film Festival in The Voice of San Francisco in my column. It's thevoicesf.org.
Oh, that's great. You should read Michael. He's very good as a writer, and you might enjoy it. Thevoicesf.org.
Also, one more extraneous note away from the reviews proper.
I'll ding extraneous.
A friend of mine, Odessa Lil, is a burlesque performer, and with her troupe of burlesque performers, her fellow dancers, she has been doing a tribute to Weird Al Yankovic for a number of years. All the songs that they dance to and parody are Weird Al Yankovic tunes. Yeah. And they've made a documentary called Tight and Nerdy. And this documentary screens this coming Saturday night at the Roxy in the Mission on 16th. I just wanted to bring that to people's attention.
No, that's really, really cool. It's a documentary about them following.
About them doing the dancing and what have you, and touring with this Weird Al tribute. And I think Mr. Yankovic is in this.
This is tomorrow night?
Yeah, tomorrow night at the Roxy.
Wow.
So it'll be available for streaming at some point, but I think that's kind of an exciting.
It could be a fun event.
Speaking of exciting.
Well, you've covered it. That's San Francisco and Los Angeles. So Californians are very well covered by your. Do you have anything for the rest of us who are maybe not in California?
I'm a Cali guy. Wait, I do want to get to the reviews, but I want to preface the reviews by saying that on Tuesday night, I went to my first Hollywood premiere at historic Grauman's Chinese Theater in years.
Wow.
To see French director Luc Besson's Dracula. And it was, everybody was decked out in red and black and what have you, and the stars were all there. Caleb Landry Jones, who plays the Count, Christoph Waltz, who plays his enemy and his I guess his nemesis, trying to bring down the vampire. They're among them. And so was my old acquaintance, the talented man who wrote the movie's score, Danny Elfman, legendary LA New Wave musician.
Of course.
From Oingo Boingo, renowned TV and film composer. And we exchanged pleasantries. He's always struck me as a good guy. I mean, eccentric, but really, really cool. And of course, Dracula does lead off our weekly reviews today. In case you're wondering, I checked the red carpet. As far as I could tell, there was no actual blood. Anyway, on to the review proper.
All right, sir, go ahead. Now, Dracula, which is he's a blood-sucking monster. Is what he is.
Of sorts.
Not so much in this one?
Well, I mean,
the sympathetic anti-hero?
You see the whys and the hows of Dracula in this movie. So we had Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein last year.
Yeah, I love that.
And now we have Luc Besson's Dracula.
Sure.
Now, there's something about these classic monsters in the public domain that it makes filmmakers want to do their own versions of these venerable, hoary properties. They don't have to pay anybody for the rights and whatever.
Yeah, I'll think venerable. Yeah, go ahead.
The vampire genre is as deathless as a vampire, all right? I mean, truth be told, I loved Robert Eggers' recent take on the we'll call him the proto-bloodsucker Nosferatu. We've had the Universal movie from Hollywood's golden age with Bela Lugosi as Dracula, the Hammer Studio films with Christopher Lee as Dracula, and Francis Ford Coppola's lush version with Gary Oldman as the very old man and part-time bat. And now it's Dracula again. And you know what? Look, it's okay. It's as hard to kill this property as it is to kill Dracula himself. There are good performances, albeit some of the scenery-chewing variety, led by this compelling performance by Caleb Landry Jones as Count Drac. It boasts gorgeous costuming and art direction. Danny Elfman's score is lovely. And there's that typically kinetic direction by, we'll call him French pulp movie king Luc Besson, who can really deliver the action and madcap characters, as he did in The Fifth Element, La Femme Nikita, The Professional. Those are all Luc Besson films. The problem here is Besson, the screenwriter. His script has many plot points culled from Bram Stoker's classic Gothic novel, and it starts out as a romantic period thing, telling the pre-vampire backstory of the Romanian Count Vlad, and specifically about his love for the beautiful Elisabetta, who, by the way, hey, Nepo alert, played by Zoe Blue, Rosanna Arquette's daughter. I think it's her first major role. She puts herself pretty well. Yeah. How losing Elisabetta compels Vlad to rail against God and the church and consequently be cursed with bloodlust and immortality.
Is that how it happened in the book?
Maybe. It's been so long. I'm just telling you, this is the stuff at the very top of the film that Besson concentrates on.
John says, so he's just misunderstood Dracula.
Ish.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
Right.
I mean, there's a trail of dead bodies and people turned into vampires.
Yeah.
He spends hundreds of years searching for her reincarnation until the late 1800s, when this is set, and when he believes she might have been reborn as a sexy babe named Mina, also played by Blue, in Paris. So he loads the old coffin on a coach, has his henchmen bring him.
Does he travel in a coffin?
Yeah. This does have some bite to it, okay? And I like that the Count has a troop of gargoyles at his beck and call, guarding his castle, and sort of a new twist with that Cathedral of Notre Dame vibe.
Sure.
I mean, Besson's a Frenchman, of course.
Right.
I kept looking for Quasimodo. He didn't show up. But the third act feels kind of rushed, like Besson spent so much time on the romance at the top that he had to speed up to get to the finish line. And the other thing about this film is that there are moments of dark comedy beyond the joys of Christoph Waltz as the vampire hunting priest. And these things may be fun, but they kind of take you out of the traditional creepiness of the tale.
I see.
That seemed more Rocky Horror Picture Show than a serious retelling of the Dracula story. But those are just moments. Okay, Eggers' Nosferatu, Coppola's Dracula, they set a pretty high bar for period vampire epics, so Besson's Dracula didn't suck, except, when he or his minions did. And honestly, as much as I was diverted by what I watched, I really would have preferred seeing RuPaul in Dragula. Honestly, we've seen how many times do we have to see the Dracula story? For fans of this sort of thing, I think it's pretty good. And I was diverted for 2 hours. It's in theaters across this great nation of ours.
All right. It sounds to me like you didn't you didn't mind it. I mean, is the warm up to what goes on too quickly at the end? Is the warm up captivating in any way?
Yeah. The first part of it, where you're seeing his backstory, is kind of cool.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
There are moments and moments, and
then he just starts biting people and murdering people.
Yeah, it just characterization gets thinner and thinner somehow as the movie goes along.
I see. All right,
let's move on to another horror film, and one that I can't really endorse. I kind of enjoyed Luc Besson's Dracula. I did, but we have a movie called The Strangers Chapter 3. Now, I remember when you said to me, well, Courtney and I want to go see Avengers Endgame. And I said, have you seen Avengers Infinity Wars? And you said, no. And I said, why would you think of seeing the second part of a two-part movie when you haven't seen the first? So we had two movies beginning with 2008's The Strangers, and then they dropped that. They did fairly well for low-budget horror films. And that was followed by a reboot of two more movies in what is a low-budget horror film franchise, wherein the quiet town of Venus, Oregon, is the personal playground of three young killers, like, you know, in their 20s, in cheap Halloween masks. And they like to kill young couples that stay at a seedy local motel for the night as they pass through town.
Wow.
And that's basically the essence. It's a trio of serial killers in cheapo masks.
Yeah.
And now we have the third of this kind of reboot trilogy, all three of which feature Madeline Petch as Maya, who people may remember her from Riverdale. She was Cheryl Blossom. I kind of would have preferred a movie where she tried to kill Archie and Reggie, but that doesn't happen here.
Wow.
Anyway, this is what I pray is the last chapter in the reboot. You know, there's a horror movie trope of the final girl who survives horror machinations, administrations. And it's taken here to trilogy-mandated extremes. So the masked serial killing trio of Scarecrow, Dollface, and Pinup Girl, those are the three cheap masks. They are down one at the end of chapter 2. Spoiler alert. So they need a replacement psycho. And that's what this movie is essentially about.
Of course.
So are they going to, this gruesome twosome, are they going to recruit someone? And how does the carnage-enabling local sheriff tie in? The gore notwithstanding, it was all quite silly and shallow. I mean, the slaughters weren't even particularly imaginative. I'm not going to say, what do you expect from a movie directed by noted hack Rennie Harlin? But what do you expect from a movie directed by noted hack Rennie Harlin?
Rennie Harlin directed this?
Yes, he's directed a couple of these. The Strangers Chapter 3 is in theaters all across the country. And if you've seen 1 and 2 and liked them, I even think you'll be disappointed, you know?
Wow, okay.
It just was like,
It's a no-go for Strangers.
Why bother? All right, how about a movie that I can endorse? Now, Mark, have you ever been to the Folsom Street Fair?
I'm familiar with it, but I've never been to it. It's really over the top.
It's a gay B&D and S&M theme. Not totally gay. It's non-denominational in that regard.
But it's about pretty wild.
Bondage and domination, sadomasochism.
Yeah.
And
this is in San Francisco, for those of you who are not familiar.
Pillion may be the first prestige, realistic, non-judgmental, non-exploitive film drama about a gay B&D S&M relationship. And boy, it's got star power. Alexander Skarsgård,
wow,
you know, from HBO's True Blood and The Northman and Godzilla vs. Kong, a bunch of films. He plays the dominant person in the relationship, and it's about kind of a young man in a UK town who just wants to please. He's in a barbershop quartet. He seems pretty wholesome. He just wants to please people. He's a kind guy, and he's gay, but he stays pretty much reserved on that front. But nobody questions that he's looking for a guy in his life, and his parents are cool about it. And he meets this handsome, swaggering biker type who comes into town with a sort of nondescript accent, and they start up a relationship.
Sure.
And it's Skarsgård as the master or daddy, and he's part of a whole group of leather boy bikers and their submissive slaves.
Yeah.
And this young man becomes his submissive. And by the way, if you wonder about the title, a pillion is a seat for a passenger behind a motorcyclist. But in this case, we can assume it's meant to denote the person riding back there. It's got moments of sweetness. It's got moments of like, this is sort of quasi-explicit sex. But it is sensitive, well-written, beautifully acted both by Skarsgård and in the essential role of the submissive guy, Harry Melling, who played Edgar Allan Poe in The Pale Blue Eye. He was Malcolm in The Tragedy of Macbeth, and regular moviegoers will recognize him as Dudley Dursley in the Harry Potter movies. This is leagues away from the Harry Potter movies, let me tell you. Beautifully directed and written by Harry Leighton. It's not going to be for everybody. You've got to understand, this is, kind of...
I mean, it's, you're not kidding.
It's rough, but I'm telling you, it's got a sweetness to it.
Isn't that interesting that that Skarsgård, that these, so many who have so many choices on different projects spark to this?
It's so beautifully written, and this is, of course, you're making a good point. He's Tarzan, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, he could. I'll just put it this way: he gets his pick of projects. I think.
And he read the script and thought, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And again, both he is, of course, the Swedish son of Stellan Skarsgård and brother of Bill Skarsgård. He and Melling are wonderful in this thing. And again, if it's too much for you, from what I'm telling you, please don't watch it. But it is in select theaters, and not just in the Castro or West Hollywood. It's,
It's not a gay movie, is what you're saying.
Well, no, it's pretty damn gay.
But I mean, it's not just for the gay community.
No, but it's
for people who want to see the gay community.
It's a window into a very real subculture
Yeah.
that exists out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I give it high
Is it
marks.
disturbing?
For some who find
who don't want to see that subculture of
right. I'm not going to recommend that MAGA goes there. Go to the Melania film, people. There you go. That's how you should spend your money. I'm kidding. Don't ever go there.
All right.
Jim Pa is the next film on the docket. It is a family and found family drama, and there are LGBTQ concerns here. And this movie has the sincere intent to address LGBTQ plus lifestyles and concerns in a modern setting. And it's a little earnest, but it's hard to decry since its heart is in the right place. And in lead roles, Olivia Colman and John Lithgow are so damned good at their craft. Here, Colman plays a wife, mother, and filmmaker from Australia, and Lithgow plays her father, who happens to be a very out gay academic living his truth for many years in Amsterdam. And as it happens, the mom, the wife, mother, and filmmaker played by Coleman, has a grandchild who is a non-binary trans teenager. I'm sorry, this would be the grandfather's grandchild. Her child is non-binary. And the kid wants to move in with grandpa instead of staying in Australia and finishing high school. And so they go to Amsterdam, and this is about their adventures there. And of course, the fact that Jim Pa, by the way, a little play on the fact that his name is Jim and he is a grandpa. So
I see.
That's where the name comes from. He's kind of getting on in years. He's recovered from a stroke, but he's still so full of life that, it's that can't stop, won't stop way. He's going to still dance. But as you watch, it's hard not to hear the clock ticking. So it addresses the lifestyle, it addresses how people react, whether gay or straight, to that situation.
And end-of-life stuff, too.
And it features a beautiful pair of performances. And as the kid, I've got to say, pretty good job by young Aude Mason Hyde, who happens to be the child, if I'm not mistaken, of Sophie Hyde, director and screenwriter of Jim Pa. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say this, but it could be considered a bit of a vanity project because it is taken from her life, but it's done with such care and love. It's hard to be very negative about it. It's just not a lot goes on, and it does some kind of very typical things. Again, great actors, an interesting film, but I would say in terms of the quality level, Pillion is a far more,
If you're looking for a gay romp, then you're saying B and D it with Pillion is what you're telling me.
I'm saying that this other one is much softer and sweeter.
Yeah, you like your gay hard is what you're telling me.
I want it vicious. No.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Right. Moving on, please.
I got to get to some
movies
that are really first rate. My Father's Shadow is an absolutely wonderful and compelling, a powerful and poignant story, which is England's best international feature film entry to the upcoming Academy Awards, and it won the Camera d'Or special mention at Cannes. It's written and directed by Akinola Davis Jr., and it is the story of a father and his two sons, and it's set in 1993 Lagos, back in the day when it was roiled by all kinds of political unrest. And in the circumstance, the dad, played by the wonderful Afro-British actor Sope Dirisu, who you will recognize from Slow Horses.
Oh, sure.
And he's also been in Gangs of London. He plays the boy's politically compromised father. He has two sons who are, I think, like 7 and 10 or something to that degree, and he wants to spend a little time with them. He's not around that much, so he goes to the village where they live, and he says that the kids should join him going into the city, Lagos of Nigeria, while he has an errand to run. He wants to get some money that he's owed. So this is about their journey to the city and what they encounter. And I get it. I got to tell you, Dirisu was wonderful, very thrilling, nuanced performance. And the relationship that he has between these two kids who are portrayed by young actors, obviously I've never seen before, but are so brilliantly real on screen. I got to give them a shout out because they are so good. One of the kids is named Godwin Egbo, and the other kid is Shibuke Marvelous Egbo, and they are clearly brothers, and they play brothers. And honestly, Mark, this is a beautiful film, and all kudos to Akinola Davies. I think this is one of his first films, if not his first. And I have to tell you, wow, My Father's Shadow, it's in kind of English, but so heavily accented that it's subtitled. And it's set in Nigeria, but there are British creators involved in it, and thus it was presented as England's entry for Best Foreign Film. And,
you love it.
I thought it was beautiful. It is in select theaters. And how about this? The other movie I can unabashedly endorse is called The President's Cake. And it is another wonderfully executed foreign film about young kids thrust into volatile political circumstances. The President's Cake is delicate and deceptively simple, a look at growing up in disadvantaged circumstances, and those being poverty in 1990s Iraq during the reign of that dictatorial international pariah Saddam Hussein. A 9-year-old girl named Lamia lives with her elderly grandmother in an Iraqi backwater. Saddam's birthday is coming up, and it's a national holiday. So her teacher assigns Lamia the task of baking a cake for her class to celebrate Saddam. But this is a rough time. Ingredients are scarce and pricey, especially with all the blockades that are in place at that time. So with her pet rooster under her arm, she has a pet rooster named Hindi, Lamia and her grandmother head to the city to get what she needs for the cake, and there she encounters a rascally classmate, all manner of challenges, unscrupulous businessmen, the authorities. But you can't underestimate the pluck of one determined little girl. At one point, the sight of an elusive red balloon might remind cinephiles about a film that told the urban adventures of a kid, a French film that features this innocent child, the red balloon. But The President's Cake is a much bleaker place than Paris in many, many ways. Beautifully written, beautifully directed by Hassan Hadi, who had a co-writer, Eric Roth, on the screenplay. Again, high marks for The President's Cake, and it is in select theaters.
Wow. What a bounty you have come through with today, oh great culture blaster. The President's Cake, a foreign film about growing up in an impoverished circumstance, but the 9-year-old girl in 90s Iraq, she wanted to make a birthday cake for Saddam Hussein, is what you're telling me.
Saddam Hussein. Can't get enough of him. Happy birthday, you bastard.
And her attempts to gather those ingredients take us on a journey, is what I'm getting from you, Michael Snyder.
And like the kids in My Father's Shadow, the little girl, played by Banin Ahmad Nayef, is so unaffected and natural and, oh, God.
Brilliant performance.
Yeah.
The President's Cake is in select theaters with subtitles. My Father's Shadow, the powerful and poignant winner of the special mention at the Cannes Film Festival. Yes. Father and two sons in 1993 Lagos with all the brutal politics of that age. Sope Dirisu is brilliant in this role. And Michael Snyder loves this movie. My Father's Shadow is in select theaters. Jimpa is the family drama which grazes the LGBTQ concerns in a modern setting. Olivia Colman, brilliant actress. John Lithgow, brilliant actor. He plays the father, Lithgow does, who's a gay academic.
Yeah, he's the grandfather, of the trans kid, but Olivia Colman's father.
He's Olivia Colman's father, exactly.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry if that wasn't clear.
I know.
The non-binary child wants to move in with him, Grandpa, and Jim Pie is sort of his moniker.
Yeah,
no, it's his, Lithgow's moniker.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Don't.
I mean, I don't think you need to interrupt my summaries with like you've done.
Sometimes
I
we
wanted
just
to
have
apologize
to push
to
you in the
Asian
right
community, the
direction.
Asian American community.
I think you should apologize.
Okay.
Pillion is realistic. Bondage and discipline. Isn't that what B&D stands for?
It does. And Sado and masochism. There's the
and S&M.
The
Alexander Skarsgård, the brilliant actor. He is the D in B&D. And he meets a young man in an English town who's looking for love, and he is the S in what's the other one?
He's the submissive and dominant and submissive.
Okay. It's S&M and B&D, right?
Yeah, right. And in the S&M relationship, there's a dominant and a submissive.
Right. Okay. But it's not called D and S.
Do we need a glossary?
It's called
B&D.
B&D.
But that's bondage and domination.
That's different than S&M.
S&M is sadomasochism.
Right. Oh my God. And you're
Right
telling
now
me
it's
it's
mating
but you
season.
can't
And they're
Michael
hungry.
liked it. He said it's a
Not a, I'm not saying this in a pervy
if
way.
you're looking for love and you want to see somebody else looking for love, like a young man in an English town, meet Harry Melling, who plays the submissive in this relationship.
Right.
Pillion is in select theaters. Be careful about the theater you select. The Strangers, Chapter 3, Serial Killers in Cheapo Masks. Once again, the Rennie Harlan offering. Michael says, I hope this is the last one of this series. He does
begging you, Rennie.
not like it. And we started with Dracula, the Luc Besson offering, and sounded like there was a lot cool about Dracula, the kind of dark beginnings of the Dracula story. The setting seemed kind of interesting, mysterious. Dracula goes up against the church, endures a curse, right?
It's kind of a curse, yes.
Yeah. And, well, Michael felt that it ended a little too quickly, might have gotten a little mired in the beginning, the origin story.
Well, that was what was interesting. But the whole feeling, of course, is been there, bit that. I mean, it's sort of, it's Dracula. Come on, dude.
I love it. I love it. I am very excited about these offerings, at least a few of them. Will you be watching the Olympics, Culture Blaster?
Yeah, and of course I will be watching the Super Bowl. And the big question as a 49er fan is, can they both lose? Can both of those teams lose? I can't stand Robert Kraft. Don't want to see the Patriots win anything ever again. And the Seahawks are the Niners' mortal enemies. But that said, from a political standpoint, as someone in the chat pointed out, the owner of the Seahawks is, a
It's
Democrat.
not MAGA, yeah.
not MAGA.
Why is the Grauman's Chinese Theater a Chinese theater? Asked Nellie Fidian. Can you
We're
answer
trying our best to call it the Grauman's Theater with more frequency, but there is a connected theater upstairs in the Hollywood and Highland Center called the Chinese Six. It is,
I mean, it has a history as being called the Chinese theater.
and it's a beautifully ornate, and I use the word advisedly, Oriental architecture.
Snyder, you told that joke 2 weeks ago, says Phineas. What was the joke that you told
I
2
have
weeks
no
ago?
idea.
All right. Well,
Doesn't matter to me.
Watch yourself.
My bad. I'm sorry.
It's a big weekend, everybody. What
The
can I say?
Gloomy says, I don't recall ever watching any Dracula movie in my life, and I'll be 65 in April.
Holy cow! Or
Yeah.
wow.
And Dracula would make a great Bond villain, says Rix. Oh, that's interesting.
That
I don't
is
know.
kind of
That
intriguing.
would be a different treatment of it, maybe.
It's supernatural, A big weekend in art and partying in Los Angeles. Pop surrealist Robert Williams has an opening in the Long Beach Museum of
Sure he
Art
does.
tonight. Space Party is DJing at the club Night on Earth on Cahuenga in Hollywood tonight from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. There's a La Luz de Jesus opening tomorrow. KP Projects, Think Space, and The Hive have openings. And the Creepy Gals Valentine's Art Show with DJs and performances is at Super Chief downtown from 7 to 11. My dance card is full, Mark.
You are amazing. I have to say, don't know how you do it. Have a great weekend, Michael, and we look forward to next week. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Culture Blaster.
So long.
By the way, we're going to start doing something with Culture Blaster's segment. He's going to be broken out and populated up on the Substack, which has just started. It's kind of a soft launch, so it's not really kind of ready for prime time. But if you want to find the Culture Blaster, you'll find him not on the YouTube channel, but over on our Substack, the Mark Thompson Show Substack. Now, you can also, Michael posted on social media as well. Luis says, I want to acknowledge, I always like when people acknowledge
And now, your
something.
comments.
I want to acknowledge Decommission, the most underrated member of Team MTS. He does a phenomenal job and always exceeds his low standards. Please never leave. I presume he's talking about Albert, don't you think? Is that
Albert? Thank you.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I'll tell you something, sounds like it's kind of like I'm messing around, but I'm going to be serious about this. Albert has actually upped his game, and I do not understand how he's upped his game or why he's upped his game. I mean, he really has. He's become someone who I like. Yeah, I'm getting this done, already done, blah, blah, blah. He's like one of those guys now. And he still does things like forgot to post the podcast, oops, but it doesn't happen as much. And he's kind of got his act together. I don't really know what's happening. I feel like maybe it's the woman in his life. I don't know what it is, but
I think it's the cupcakes.
Albert, thank you.
It does help free swag. We're getting, they're so kind enough to let us try and taste, and we could endorse their products. And maybe that's the motivation I did all along.
Right, supercharged by the swag. It's the sweet106bakery.com and Zellman's Mints. Between the two of them, he's
and the Coachella Valley
and
coffee.
the Coachella Valley coffee.
They all relate to each other, so it's a great harmony of
it is perfect.
a combination.
Karen D says, just seen the Olympics march when the march in. Yeah. When the USA marched in, heard some boos. They tried to tone down the sound, but it was booing. Also, not that many of our kids marched. It was a small group. Oh, interesting. I don't know. I'll have to watch it in delay. Wes in Florida with a big shout out to you, Wes. You're a big supporter. Thanks for being here with a $5 super sticker. And finally, Chaplain Fred, the official chaplain of this show. Hello, everyone. Now, Mark, why are we still putting up Trump's idiotic demands? We really are paying dearly with our tax money, and no one is lifting a finger. What's next? Change the name of the U.S. to United Trump States? I think we read that comment at the beginning of the show, but it's worth reading again. So we call that bookending the show with that comment. It is pretty wild what's happening, I have to say. And the madness of the Mad King is something quite extraordinary. Nelophidian says, Sweet 106 is sweet. Yeah, very, very sweet indeed. We encourage you to patronize and support our sponsors. Again, Sweet 106 Bakery, SUITE, sweet106bakery.com. Use our discount code MARKT, and you'll get off the 15% that everyone else gets off the 15% when they use that discount code MARKT.
She won a Cupcake Wars twice, and that's a great show on.
No, I know. She won Cupcake Wars twice. Yeah, this is not
once, yeah.
They're the real thing. You met her earlier this week, and she's a special person. If you want to go back, it was Tuesday's show. You can actually find it on the live show. That's the one with David K. Johnston, too. But you can hear her whole origin story. It's really special. I'm so proud and delighted that they're a part of our family of supporters. Kim, thank you for a great week. Albert, thank you for a great couple of days.
Albert, thank you. Kim, how are you?
I am looking forward to next week. Mo will be here Monday, but I'll be here every other day. And all of you, thanks for your support as we need it now more than ever. And now, the great Shadow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Olympics and Super Bowl.
Bye-bye.
Out of time. Bye-bye.